Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chapp, and we're going to be talking about the Detroit Lions schedule because the Lions schedule came out. And when I tell you that the Lions schedule is tough, it is tough. The way it sets up, the coming out of the gate, you play the LA Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who you beat the playoffs. To go into Dallas after the bye week, you get an early bye week in week 5, which doesn't really help you. But we're going to go through the games. We're going to talk about the teams. We're going to talk about how the Lions can attack them, how they can beat them, and just what would I be worried about in those games. But let's get started right away because that's the way it goes. This is going to be a little longer than I expected. I'm recording at 11:13 p.m., so if I sound a little bit delirious, it's because I am. I did 2 podcasts today, and it's been a busy day here at the Detroit Lions News Podcast. So let's start. First game, LA Rams. So the LA Rams, this is a game that I look at the Detroit Lions, and I think that they should win. You know, first of all, you're going against the LA Rams. You beat them in the playoffs. I thought that team that played in the playoffs, the Lions, that Lions team, I didn't think they were better. I didn't think they were that good. But they won that playoff game, and they played really, really well. They held Kyren Williams to under 100 yards. That's the key point. You hold Kyren Williams to under 100 yards, you're golden. You know, you look at the LA Rams, they got Matthew Stafford, the quarterback. He's obviously going to make his debut back home in a non-playoff atmosphere, which thank you for everything you've done, Stafford. You did a good job, but thank you for the playoff win as well. Kyren Williams, the running back, is a really good running back. The 2 tandem that they have at Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, that's one of the best wide receivers that you're gonna play. One of the best wide receiver tandems that you're gonna play, and you're gonna see how good your secondary rate is right off the hop. Like you're gonna see right off the hop how good your secondary is, and that's what I like about this schedule because it's gonna set up for you to play teams that they have good wide receivers. And I look at the LA Rams and I look at the way that Detroit rebuilt themselves with the secondary, with Carlton Davis, with Amik Robertson, with Terrion Arnold, and Shrake Straw. Rebuilt the whole secondary. I feel like they're much more aligned to beat these teams. They're going to be much better in the pass game to beat these teams. And I feel like this should be a win because if the secondary is better, how are they beating you? Are they beating you running the football? No, because it showed last year. Last year, Detroit had a great run defense. And this year they add, going into this year, they add DJ Reader. Jack Campbell is going to be better in his year 2. It just sets up well for the Lions. So I got this as a win because I think the Detroit Lions are a good team. I do think that the Rams are going to go through a little bit of a rough start because, losing a guy like Aaron Donald, you just don't turn the page that quickly. I don't care who you are, you don't turn the page that quickly. And Aaron Donald is a hell of a player, man, and he is just an animal. And I don't care about the guys that they drafted. I love their draft class. I love Jared Verse. I love Braden Fisk, the defensive lineman. But you're still missing Aaron Donald. It is what it is, man. You can't really replicate a guy like that. You can't even say, like, oh, we're prepared to, go on without Aaron Donald. You're never really prepared to lose a guy like that, Hall of Famer. That's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So you're not just going to turn you're not just going to turn it over real quickly. You might see a little bit of a drop off because Kobe Turner is a good player. Braden Fisk, I think, is going to be a good player. But all in all, you're going to see a drop off for the LA Rams. So I look at that as a win. So we go to the second game. And the second game is against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think that they did a hell of a job this offseason. Jason Light, the general manager, did a hell of a job this year. I think that he was very, very well. I think he put this team together really, really well. And when I look at the Bucs, I think they got better, man. They re-signed Antoine Winfield to that big contract. He's a stud. He's going to be good. But like I said, right off the hop, you're going to get two of the best wide receiver tandems in the NFL. You're going to get Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and then Cade Otton. And then Rashad White out of the backfield, he's good. He's a good receiving back. But Jalen McMillan for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think he could really be something early on. But I like the rookies they added in Chris Broswell, Graham Barton, the tackle from Duke, and Tyke Smith from Georgia. I look at the Buccaneers and I go, man, I think that they're going to be just fine. And I think that they're coached by an excellent head coach in Todd Bowles. And I look at this Tampa Bay team, and I just there's not an area where I go, okay, I worry about there. I mean, they still got Vita Vea. They still got Levante David. They kept a lot of their players, so it's good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this should be a win for the Detroit Lions, but would I be shocked to see it a loss? Kind of, because it's at home. You shouldn't expect to lose at home, but I think the Buccaneers are a pretty damn good team, man. And I think they match up well with the Lions, and they're the Lions' offensive line versus Vita Vea and that front seven. That'll be tough, but I think the Lions will get it done ultimately, and I think they'll win that game too. That's a game I think that they'll win. So yeah, the Buccaneers. You start off with two tough, wide receiver tandems, and I think this is a good thing because it's gonna challenge your secondary really, really quickly. So let's go to the next game: Arizona Cardinals versus Detroit Lions. That's going to be at Arizona. And so that's going to be a 4:25 game. I'll say this about the Arizona Cardinals. I think with Kyler Murray coming back off injury, I think that they're going to be a better team than people think. Okay, I think the Cardinals will upset the Lions here. You know how you just go to a team, and you go to a stadium and you just expect a loss because that's what's happened at that stadium. Like, weird stuff happens in Arizona with the Detroit Lions. I mean, there was good teams during the Stafford years, and they would go there and they'd lose. Don't know what it is. It's something about Arizona. I hope for the people in Arizona that are Lions fans, I hope not for their sake, but when you look at the Arizona Cardinals, I think that they're a team that could be underrated. I think Kyler Murray at the end of the year, when he came back, he looked really good. And Michael Wilson, the wide receiver, and Marvin Harrison, those are two guys I think that could help revive Kyler Murray's career, along with Trey McBride. And I think that they made improvements to the defense with Darius Robinson, Max Melton, and Elijah Jones. But all in all, I think their defense is going to be same. I don't think it's going to be good. I think they're still going to be a bad team, but I think they're going to get the best of the Detroit Lions in this spot. So it sucks, but I just have a feeling I think his career is going to get rejuvenated here. Like, I have this feeling that he's going to have a good year with Marvin Harrison. It's going to become, I think Kyler needed to learn a little bit while he was injured, that this game can be taken away from you, and it sucks. And I think that's something that is really going to help him out. But this is a loss. I have it as a loss. But look, this is a game that Detroit can win. There's no doubt about it. But all in all, when you look at this Detroit team, this Cardinal game could be a loss, and it's just because weird things happen in Arizona. We know that for a fact. All right. On the next game, Seattle Seahawks. And the Seattle Seahawks, they're going to be, I'll tell you what, man. This start off the hop, man. So many good wide receivers. You're going to see right off the hop how good your defense is. Like, truly, you are going to see how good your defense is right off the hop. You got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. You got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You go to Arizona, Marvin Harrison's going to be good. Michael Wilson's an underrated wide receiver. You come home, you play the Seahawks, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and DK Metcalf. Like, you're going to see really quickly how revamped this team is. You're going to see how revamped this secondary is. And you're going to see how revamped Aaron Glenn is. Because if you go into week 4, and let's say you're 2-1, right? And you lose the game to Seattle, that's a terrible loss. And I'm gonna tell you why. So Seattle is one of 2 teams in the league to replace a coach. That they're one of the 2 on the schedule for the Detroit Lions that they're going to be replacing a coach. Now, luckily for you, you play Tennessee early enough. You play Seattle early enough. We know when Dan Campbell started over, when he started as head coach, we know that during that time, they went 0-9, 0-10, right? It started off slow. It's very rare for a rookie head coach to just get off the hop. DeMeco Ryans is an anomaly. Shane Steichen, anomaly. And so when you look at it, this is an opportunity for the Lions to really jump out. I think Gannon in Arizona, he had a rough start to the year. He beat Dallas in Arizona, and that's why I have it as a loss. But you can't come home to Seattle and lose that game. You just can't. But right off the hop, we're going to see how good the secondary is. We are going to see how good this defensive line is. We're going to see how good Jack Campbell improved, because every one of these teams have something to exploit you. Okay? You look at the running back. Look at the quarterbacks. Okay, Stafford. You got Stafford week 1. You got week 2. You got Baker Mayfield. So it's all right. You got Kyler Murray and Geno Smith. Those are 3 meh quarterbacks. But if you look at my quarterback rankings that I have, Stafford is the highest on that list. Baker Mayfield's 8. Geno Smith is 6. Kyler Murray's 10. These are games that you should win, but they have pieces to beat you. You look at the running back position for each one of these guys. Kyron Williams, Rashad White, the pass game. James Conner at the running back position for Arizona. Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet for Seattle. Wide receiver like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Enough said. Evans and Godwin. Enough said. Marvin Harrison, a young upstart wide receiver. And Michael Wilson, who's underrated. Enough said. DK, Jack Smith-Njigba, and Tyler Lockett. Enough said. Right off the hop, you're going to know just what this team is. Right off the hop. Now, we will get into Seattle because that's what we're going to do, but that I just wanted to get that off my chest. Like, right off the hop, you're going to get to know what this team is all about. So that's what it's going to be. We look at Seattle and we look at the way that they're put together. Geno Smith will be the quarterback, we assume. I mean, I don't think anybody's taking a spot. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are the running backs. They split time, split carries. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are the 2 main wide receivers, but Jackson Smith-Njigba is just one of those wide receivers that he's really talented. Noah Fant, their tight end. These were the 2 rookies that I loved out of the draft class. They got Byron Murphy and they got Christian Haynes. And I felt like Christian Haynes and Byron Murphy, those were really good. Those were really good picks. And I love those picks. So I think that Detroit should beat Seattle. Obviously, Seattle has the tools to exploit, but all in all, the defense has got better. So there's no excuse to be in a shootout. But again, this is a chance to take advantage of this new head coach. He's a defensive head coach. He's going to be put in a new system. They're not going to be. They lost Bobby Wagner. They lost Jamal Adams. They lost Quandre Diggs. It's a young defense. So you can catch them in areas where they're not expecting. They're young and naive. This is a chance where you could really get to them really quick. And this is why I think it's a win. Like I do think it's going to be a win, because when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they're replacing a lot on the defense side of the ball, especially leadership. Jamal Adams, he might not be a leader, but it's a veteran. Quandre Diggs, veteran. Bobby Wagner is a total leader, and he's a total dog, and missing him is a huge, huge loss for the Seattle Seahawks. So it's good to get the Seattle Seahawks early, like I said. new system. They're implementing a new system. They're not going to be as clear as on their, their communications and everything like that. So it's better to get them now than later in the season, because I like Mike Macdonald as a head coach. I think Mike Macdonald's going to be a hell of a head coach in the NFL. I think that the way that he coached at Michigan, the way that he coached at Baltimore, it showed exactly what he was all about, and he's going to be a great head coach. So you get him early, that's a lucky draw right there, because I think if you get him later, that could be trouble. So you go to the bye week, and a lot of people are talking about this as they're talking about the bye week. And they say, why do we have the bye week early? And it's twofold, okay? It truly is twofold. One, it could work out in your benefit, okay? Because down the schedule, if you look at it, Thanksgiving Day, you play Chicago on Thursday. You play Thursday the following week. You'll get a little mini break in there too. You'll get a 10-day layoff right there. You'll get a week layoff. And the Packers will have a short week that week. So you get the lucky break there. But do I like early bye weeks? No. I don't like early bye weeks. And at the bye week, I have you 3-1. 3-1. It's a good start. If they start 4-0, that's a hell of a start. But ultimately, you just want to, you're going to drop a game. Like you're going to drop a game. So if it's Arizona, fine. Like if you're 4-0 at that time, fine. But you really want to put together a good first quarter. You look at this first quarter, Rams, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Hawks, Seahawks, and then the bye week. You got 4 games right there, 3-1. It's a good start. So we go to the Cowboys, and this is a game where the Detroit Lions are going to be looking for retribution for what happened in Dallas against them in late the season. And honestly, that game kept Detroit from home field advantage. And don't think for a second that Dan Campbell and Aiden Hutchinson, Jared Goff, and St. Brown and St. Sewell forgot about that. Don't think they forgot about that. Total garbage call. They totally missed the call. And the fact of the matter is this: Dallas isn't a good team. Like Dallas is not a good team. And I'm gonna give you a good case of it, okay? I don't think Dallas is a good team. You look at the running back position, they got Deuce Vaughn, they got Zeke Elliott back. Tony Pollard with the Tennessee. So now what they're doing is criminal for Dak Prescott. Literally criminal. But what they're doing is they're going to put him in a position where he's going to have no run game. Like, think about it. Is Zeke Elliott really going to be a 1,000-yard rusher? Is Deuce Vaughn going to be like this revolutionary rusher? No. And you saw last year, Tony Pollard was a good running back. And Detroit stuffed him. So if you make Dak Prescott throw more than they should, Dak Prescott's going to make some big mistakes. He's going to make some big mistakes. And I like this revamped secondary. I like Terrion Arnold, his playmaking abilities. I love Ennis Rakestraw. I love Brian Branch. I love Carlton Davis. This should be a win for the Detroit Lions. Like this should be a win. And I'm going to pencil it in as a win because of one reason, and one reason only. They got the better team. You are a better team than the Dallas Cowboys. I know they got a good defense with Mike Parsons and all that stuff, but I don't know how their offense is going to score on you. I think that Cowboy offense is going to be one of the worst in the league this year. What they're doing to Dak Prescott is just setting them up for total failure. They are setting Dak Prescott up for total failure. So I believe this is going to be a win, and we'll see. But I do like this as a win for the Detroit Lions. And again, it's the revenge factor. It's the retribution, and I think that they're gonna have a good time in Dallas, because this is a game that Dan Campbell is probably gonna circle for this game. So we move on to the next game. And the next game is the Minnesota Vikings at home. And this is a game that I think is going to be trouble. I'll tell you why. I like what the Vikings did this offseason. I'll be completely honest with you. I think the Vikings did a hell of a job with Andrew Van Ginkel as their free agent. Jonathan Greenard. They drafted Dallas Turner. I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in this draft. Aaron Jones, I think he's an upgrade over whatever they had last year, Alexander Madison and whatever. And obviously when you have two of the best wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hockenson, who was a top five tight end, you're going to be in a good situation. And I think that the Minnesota Vikings are well coached. The Minnesota Vikings are one of the most well-coached teams in the league. I think Kevin O'Connell is a great offensive mind. Brian Flores for the defensive coordinator. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator. He's one of the best coordinators in the league, in my opinion. What he did with that defense last year was truly remarkable. And I look at this Vikings team; they improved. They improved. Now it's going to be reliant on how good J.J. McCarthy is. I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be good, but we got to see. We got to see what he is. And if J.J. McCarthy is anything what I think he is, this game is going to be chintzy right here. Going to Minnesota is never easy. We all know that. So I look at this game and I go, man, this is a game where it's put up or shut up. And I think the Detroit Lions will lose this game to the Vikings. So I have a bad feeling about this game. Going to Minnesota is never easy. We know that. There's been years where the Detroit Lions have been really good. They go to Minnesota, they lose. Minnesota's a tough place to play. Great game day atmosphere, great fans. They do a hell of a job with the presentation, the skull chant and everything. I don't like it, but they do a hell of a job. They're good. They're well coached. I think they got better at the running back position. We'll see what it is at quarterback. But if J.J. McCarthy is anything like I think, it's going to be a good year for the Vikings. I do think the Vikings are going to be really good. I think they're going to challenge for a wild card spot, in my opinion. So I think they're going to win this game. I think Detroit's going to drop this game. They're going to drop to 4-2, but everything's still ahead of you. Everything is still ahead of you. So we move on to the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans are an interesting team. As you know, I am a big Tennessee Titans fan. Well, I'm not a fan, but they're like my second team, right? So I know them more than most. Tennessee is not a good team. Signing Calvin Ridley is cute. Signing Tony Pollard is cute. They lost to Nico Autry last year. Their cornerback situation is kind of ass. Their linebacker situation is not good either. Jeffrey Simmons is a beast, but one man's not going to wreck that Lions offense. This is a game you're going to win. You're going to win going away. Will Levis isn't going to beat you. Don't talk about it. Will Levis is ass. Tennessee Titan fans want him out of there. It's going to be a big year for Levis. And I look at his wide receiver situation. Treylon Burks, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley. If you know anything about Calvin Ridley, he's hot or cold. 1 minute he's great, the next minute he's ass. The next minute he's great, the next minute he's ass. I remember I put some prop bets on Calvin Ridley last year. I put some prop bets on Calvin Ridley last year. And I remember Calvin Ridley routinely shit in the bed. Like I would just have him for 40 yards, okay? Just 40 yards. And you get 25, 0, 21, 0, 22. The game I didn't, bet on him, boom, he goes off. Like he was the ultimate hot cold. If you look at his game log, it will show you he was absolutely hot and cold. So again, this is a win for the Detroit Lions because of two reasons. The Titans are not good. They're not. And the Detroit Lions are overwhelmingly better in talent than the Tennessee Titans. So this is going to be a win for the Detroit Lions, but the next couple games are going to define the season. So we go to Green Bay. November 3rd is the start of the rough part of the schedule. So I got them 5-2 at this point. They're going to be 5-2 going into Green Bay. There's two things that could happen with Green Bay. Two things. One, I do love their team. I think that the Green Bay Packers, I think the Green Bay Packers are a hell of a team. I do. I think that they're a hell of a team. I believe that they are set up to be a really good team. So when I say what I'm about to say, just remember that. But here's where I fault back on the Green Bay Packers. I feel like they got worse. I feel like the Green Bay Packers got worse. And I'm going to explain this to you. Josh Jacobs comes from Vegas. They let Aaron Jones go to the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Jones was one of the best yards after contact running backs in the league. He was third in the league. Better than Gibbs, better than Montgomery. As good as a year as they had, Aaron Jones was really, really good. They get rid of Aaron Jones. They sign Josh Jacobs. And I understand that Josh Jacobs has this allure of him being a good running back. But when I look at Josh Jacobs, with 241 snaps, which is 50% of the snaps, he was the worst yards after contact running back in the NFL. You could blame that on the quarterback situation in Vegas being total ass and him, having to face stack boxes. That could be part of it. But yards after contact is a big stat, and he wasn't good enough in my opinion. He just wasn't. So that's what I look at with Josh Jacobs. I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to help this team. I think they got worse at the running back position. Now, I do think Jordan Love is a good quarterback. And when we look at the overview of the Green Bay Packers, I like Jordan Love. I don't like Josh Jacobs. I like Romeo Doubs. I like Jaden Reed. I like Christian Watson. I think they're going to be really, really good. Luke Musgrove, I think he's going to be a solid tight end. I think that they nailed it out of the park with the rookie draft class with Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona, Edric Cooper, the linebacker, Texas A&M, Javon Bolliard, and Keaton Oladapo from Oregon State. I thought they nailed it out of the park. They did a good job at replenishing talent. They did a really good job, and I'm pretty psyched at that. They did a damn good job at replenishing the talent. But I have this as a win because I feel like this is a game that Detroit has to win. And I'm gonna put it to you like this. Detroit has to win this game for one reason and one reason only. The game they have up next is truly just, it sucks, man. It really sucks because they're gonna have to go against a team who is really, really good. And when I look at this team in the Texans, that's what I talk about. So I have a win against Green Bay. They're 6-2 going into this game, and it's a Sunday night football game. And I feel like if you're going to drop a game, this is a game you have to drop. Sadly. It's Houston game. Sunday night football. This will be a tough game. We know that DeMeco Ryans is a really good coach. I like what they did this offseason with Danico Autry, with Daniil Hunter, with Daniil Hunter. They signed Stephon Diggs. I'm not really big on Stephon Diggs, but he doesn't really matter because I do like their wide receiver position. Nico Collins, Tank Dell. I think Stephon Diggs slides in there. Dalton Schultz. But I did like their two picks of Kamari Lassiter, the cornerback from Georgia, and Cade Stover from the tight end from Ohio State. I think that was their two good picks. I think adding Joe Mixon to that run game is going to be solid. Joe Mixon is a solid runner. He plays hard. He does a good job of, pushing it, and I think he's going to help out CJ Stroud big. But this is a game that's on the schedule that I think they're going to lose. Am I happy saying that they're going to lose? No. But the plus side to it is they're not an NFC team, so it doesn't affect the tiebreaker. Because I think the tiebreaker is what's going to be huge. Huge. The tiebreaker is going to be the biggest part of the season. So when I look at the Houston Texans game, I see this as a loss, and I wish it wasn't a loss because I don't want to watch a losing game. But when you look at the Houston Texans, they're well coached. CJ Stroud's one of my favorite quarterbacks. He's one of the toughest quarterbacks we're going to play this year. It's him and Josh Allen. Those are Josh Allen, CJ, Brock, 3 tough quarterbacks that they just get the job done. Period. In the story. That's what they do. So I don't like this game for the Detroit Lions, and I think they're going to lose. But it's good that you're losing a game in the AFC compared to what it could be. So they will fall to 6-3 at this time, and then they move on. So you go to the next game, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, a lot of people, the Jacksonville Jaguars I feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars are they're a total joke of a team. First of all, I feel like with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I feel like they really messed up on the first round picks that they had. I know they had to draft Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think Trevor Lawrence has lived up to his generational standard that he had. I don't think Trayvon Walker was the best defensive end in that draft class. The Lions got one of them in Aiden Hutchinson. So I think Kayvon Thibodeau is better than Trayvon Walker. So you look at this Jacksonville Jaguars team, and I did not like their offseason. They did not address what was the issue last year. They did not address the defensive part of the team. No. Let's go get Gabe Davis and let's go get Brian Thomas. So they have 3 wide receivers. They have a good offense. Travis Etienne's a running back. Gabe Davis from Buffalo. Christian Kirk's a hell of a wide receiver. Evan Ingram stays. They didn't do nothing on the defensive side of the ball. Nothing. And that's the part that makes them a joke of a team. This is a game that Detroit should win. I feel like Detroit's at home. They're going to go against a team that is overmatched defensively because they're going against the Detroit offense. Detroit's offense is stellar. Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, that top 2 offensive line, with the Eagles being close there. Jared Goff, a good quarterback, wide receivers like J-Mo and Sam Laporta as a tight end, and St. Brown. Like, it's over. Their defense is overmatched here. Their offense can put up points, but I think the Detroit's defense is going to be better. And they get up a little bit. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence pressing again. When Trevor Lawrence presses, it ain't no good for them. It's done. It's over with. They don't like it. So we go on. I think this will be a win for the Detroit Lions. I think that this Jaguars team is a total fraud, in my opinion. So they go 7-3. You go to the next game, and this is the ultimate wild card game, in my opinion. The Colts. Because I look at the Colts and I go like this, okay. I do think their defense is decent. I think that Gannon, their coach, no, Steichen's their coach. Steichen's a damn good offensive play caller. And I feel like the Colts are they're going to be tough, man. And the reason I say this game is a wild card is because of 2 reasons, and 2 reasons only. What is going to be the health of Anthony Richardson? Because I feel like this is a kid that is going to get himself hurt more than he's going to be available. And I fear that because I think the kid's a really good player. But ultimately, I think he's going to run himself into injury, and I don't want to see it because the kid's got a hell of an arm. He's got a hell of an arm, but ultimately, when you play like Anthony Richardson, you're going to put yourself in harm's way, and that's just the way it is. So this is a game where you're going to go against one of the top running backs you're going to play all year, Jonathan Taylor. I think Detroit's up for it. Their wide receivers, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is a good jump ball wide receiver, tall, lanky. They also got Adonai Mitchell in the draft from Texas. I like Adonai Mitchell. And they got Latu from UCLA, the defensive end. And I think that he's going to be a really good player too. So the Colts are a team that they can give you a game. The lucky part is, the unlucky part is you're going to Indianapolis. You never know how those games are going to go. Indianapolis is a hell of a football team. And if Anthony Richardson is healthy, that'll be a tough game. It's going to be really tough. Obviously, offensively, against the Colts defense, you got the upper hand, but defensively, they're going to give you everything you can handle. I think that, Josh Downs, he started playing really, really good with Gardner Minshew last year. I think he was starting to break out. I'm interested to see how he gels with Anthony Richardson. And I think Jelani Woods is one of the most underrated tight ends in the league. I think they have an underrated offensive line. And Jonathan Taylor is just he's a dog. Like, he's one of the best running backs you're going to play against before you get to Christian McCaffrey. So this is a good barometer for you in terms of who you're going to do. But I do think the Lions will win this game at the Colts. And look, I hope they win this game because they have to. But it's going to be a tough game. So you better hold on your horses. I mean, if you're going, I know there's people going, but geez, man, I think this is going to be a tougher game than people think. All right, let's go to the next game. We got 3 home games back to back to back. You got the Bears on Thanksgiving, the Packers on Thursday Night Football on Amazon, and then you play the Buffalo Bills on a Sunday. You play the Buffalo Bills. So these are 3 home games. Here's the thing with Chicago. I'll leave it frank like this. I think Chicago is one of those teams that they're another team that I'm not so certain of. I think they're going to have a good defense. I think we all can agree to that. I think the defense that the Bears have is going to be really good. I think Jalen Johnson's the top cornerback. Montez Sweat. They got a good team. I think their defense is going to be good, and I just don't know about their offense. Caleb Williams is the ultimate wild card. I don't think DeAndre Swift is any good. And if Caleb Williams is the ultimate wild card, I mean, it helps to throw to DJ Moore. It helps to throw to Keenan Allen. And it helps to throw to Roma Dunze and Cole Kmet. They have a talented offense. But when it comes down to it, I think the Lions are the more talented team pound for pound. And just based on, I don't think Caleb Williams is that great. I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy that are the 2 best quarterbacks in this class. I know a lot of people think Drake May, and they can have that feeling, but I don't think that Drake May is going to be that. I don't think he's going to be that guy. So Caleb Williams is a guy that I just don't know about, man. Like, I really don't know what Caleb Williams is going to be. I watch games, USC games, and you watch games where they play a physical team that's more, on them, like Utah, like Notre Dame, like Oregon, like Washington, struggles. He blows all the bad teams out. And one of the things that I noticed about Caleb Williams that I think is concerning for Bears fans, when he gets pressured, he turns into, let's just throw it up. Let's try to make something let's not make the smart play. Let's try to be Patrick Mahomes. And there's no one that's Patrick Mahomes. That those risky decisions that he makes in the NFL, if he does that, it's over. It's over. It's going to be intercepted. It's going to be a fumble, wherever the case may be. I don't think he's going to have a run game. I think DeAndre Swift is a total fraud of a running back. Yeah, he had a 1,000-yard year last year with the Chicago Bears. I mean, with the Philadelphia Eagles. But who wouldn't have 1,000-yard year with the Eagles? I mean, the two teams that he's played on, he's so lucky that he played on them. Like he is so lucky he played on the Philadelphia Eagles. Like he truly is lucky that he played on the Eagles. He's lucky he played on the Lions. They made him into the player that he is, because if you think he's going to get yards after contact, you're fooling yourself. I think he had 3 yards before contact, and he was a 34th ranked running back out of 241 snaps last year in yards after contact. So he was one of the worst he was the second worst next to Josh Jacobs in yards after contact with like a 241 minimum snaps. So I just don't respect DeAndre Swift. So I think this will be a win. I think Detroit's going to finally get a win on Thanksgiving. Good for them. They need it. Obviously, this track record of let's have a bad Thanksgiving is garbage. So let's rifle through the Green Bay game. I think they're going to win the Green Bay game. Thursday night game, prime time. Packers have a short week. You have a week to prepare. It's gonna be the schedule's in your advantage. I think you win that game too. So let's just gloss over that. So that is what it is. So I think the Detroit Lions will beat the Green Bay Packers. I'm writing it down right now. Win, and the short week helps them. Green Bay's playing off a short week. Detroit's not. There you go. That's all you need to know. So we move on. This game against the Buffalo Bills is going to be a tough game. Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. James Cook is a rising running back in this league, and I think that Joe Brady's offense with the more run concepts, I think that's going to be really helpful for Josh Allen, especially with the wide receiver group he has. Look, I don't fear the Bills because of their wide receivers. I like Khalil Shakur. I like Curtis Samuel. Where they have a wild card in there is Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid can play. He can play out there and out there in the slot, or he can play out there and in the wing and do pretty well. I think Dalton Kincaid is one of the most underrated tight ends. I think as good as Sam Laporta was, Dalton Kincaid was just the same. He was really rising at the end of the year, and he had a great end of the year. He was one of Josh Allen's top targets, and I think he's only going to get better from here. So I think Dalton Kincaid is going to be a problem for a lot of teams in this year. And when you look at their wide receiver group, like Keon Coleman could be a good X wide receiver, but they have a lot of speed in that wide receiver room. And maybe that's something that, the Buffalo Bills are trying to do with their new offense by Joe Brady's offense. So this is going to be a tougher game than people think, because Josh Allen is really good. I like their safety, Cole Bishop from Utah. I like Keon Coleman. Those are my 2 favorite draft picks out there. They got Dawson Knox still, so they're a pretty damn good team. But I have the Detroit Lions winning this game, man. And I'm going to tell you, it seems like I'm just bloviating that I think Detroit's going to win the game. But I really like, if there's any team that Detroit's going to lose to at home, I would say it's the Seahawks. I would say it's the Bills. So those are 2 games that you could potentially lose. I don't like the Seahawks as a team that's going to sneak up on you, but I think the Seahawks have had the Detroit Lions number. The Bucs, the Rams, those could be losses too. But I just think you're the better team. I think that I'm going to buy into the secondary being better. And I'm on a streak right now, 5 years straight. I've got the record correct, so I have to keep going on this. So that's how it is. So I have the Buffalo Bills going to Detroit and losing to the Detroit Lions. So it sets up a huge game in San Francisco, because the Detroit Lions will be 11-3. And the next game is the Chicago Bears. And I do think the Detroit Lions will drop this game. This is an away game. It's in December. It's in Soldier Field. It's the week before Christmas. I don't like the matchup here for the Detroit Lions. I just think that this is going to be the game that they drop. It's going to be an away game. Jared Goff out there in the elements. I don't like it at all. I can tell you that right now. So the Bears, I think they'll get the Detroit Lions here, but I think Detroit's going to be. This is kind of a look ahead spot, man. Like if we look at this game right here, this is a total look ahead spot. Think about it. The Bears are going to be coming. They're going to obviously be coming off a loss a couple weeks before. You're going to be looking ahead towards that San Francisco game on Monday Night Football. I know people don't want to hear it, but this is a total look ahead game. It just is what it is. You can't really fault players because I think the San Francisco, the Cisco, Francis, God damn it. It's 11:58 at night, so I'm kind of jumbling my words. But the San Francisco game, that's going to be a huge game for this team. So this could be a spot where they look ahead against the Bears, and I think this will be the loss. So I think this will be the loss for the Detroit Lions, where they're going to be 11-4 going into that game against the San Francisco 49ers. And here's where this season is going to really be determined. So December 30th is going to be a Monday Night Football game. It'll be a Monday Night Football game of epic proportions too. So the Detroit Lions are going to they're going to the 49ers, and I think this is going to be who clinches home field advantage. Now we could sit here and we could talk about the 49ers. We could sit here and talk about how good they are, and they're really good. Like you look at their team. I love the wide receivers they got in Ricky Purcell and Jacob Cowing. I think those are two underrated wide receivers. They still got Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. They got a hell of a team, man. They got a hell of a team. But I think Detroit can get it done here. I think this is a game where if you're the Detroit Lions, you have a shot to beat this team. I don't think Detroit's going to go in there and take it lightly. I think they're pissed off about what happened in the NFC Championship game. I think they're pissed off about how they lost that game. It burns them inside. You know, all the people that were on the team last year, Sewell, Anzalone, Goff, Gibbs dropping that fumble. Like, they're all going to be ripped and roared and ready to go. And if they win this game, which I think they will, they're going to get home field advantage in the playoffs. They will get home field advantage in the playoffs. And that sets up well for the next game. Because obviously you lost to the Minnesota Vikings in week. You lost to the Minnesota Vikings at their place. But again, the Minnesota Vikings, as good as I think they could be, I still think Detroit's going to win this game. And I think this is going to be a win. This is going to be where the Detroit Lions clinch the home field advantage. And I just think that this is going to be where they really put an explanation mark on the season. Again, I'm sorry. I just turned to midnight. We got a couple more segments to go on the podcast. So if you're I'm doing it by myself. No Tyler, no anyone. So I'm doing it by myself, and we're gonna rifle through it. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break and like a minute break, and then I will be back in the next segment as we talk about the top 10 list. The top 10 quarterbacks, the top 10 running backs, the top 10 wide receivers, the top 10 defenses that you'll play, and then we'll go on from there. Welcome back to the program. The Detroit Lions News Podcast rolls on. The ultimate schedule preview as we roll on. So this is going to be the interesting part of the podcast because it's going to give you a glimpse of the players that you're going against, the defenses that you're going against, my kind of preview, my kind of look ahead. Top 10 defenses, the top 10 defenses, top 10 wide receivers, top 10 running backs, quarterbacks, go on. Let's start with quarterbacks as we go on. This is going to be an interesting time for this because I look at the quarterback rankings and I almost forgot to put Josh Allen at number 1 because he is the best quarterback the Detroit Lions are going to face. CJ Stroud I have number 2, Brock Purdy at 3, Matthew Stafford 4, Jordan Love at 5. And I look at this, the top 5, and I know you've seen the rest of the list if you're going to see this on the YouTube channel, but when I look at the top 5, they're all guys that can beat you. They're all guys that have the capability to beat you. I think Jordan Love is a hell of a quarterback. I think Jordan Love, he's going to have a hell of a season with the Green Bay Packers. But again, you're going to get right off the hop. You're going to play some of these. You're going to play some of these good quarter. You're going to play Matthew Stafford, who is going to be the best quarterback that you're going to play before you play CJ Stroud, before you play Jordan Love, before you're going to get a little bit of a glimpse. You're going to get a chance to smooth your secondary in there. You're going to get a chance to get your secondary ready for the second half of the season. That's when you're going to see the better quarterbacks, the CJ Strouds, the Jordan Loves, the Brock Purdy's. I think that's going to be good for the Detroit Lions because, playing guys like Kyler Murray and Geno Smith and Dak, like those are kind of tune-ups to what you're going to be playing. You're going to be playing a hell of a quarterback in Josh Allen, a great rising quarterback in CJ Stroud. You're going to be playing a good quarterback in Matthew Stafford week 1. And then you got Baker, Kyler, Geno, Dak. It's a good chance for your secondary to get more in tune with each other, get better communication, and that's where you're going to roll. 6, I got Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence has played pretty well, regardless of how I think he's a failed number 1 overall pick. I really don't like the rest of the list. Obviously, I think Will Levis is ass. I left JJ and Caleb off the list because I really don't know what they are, and I'm not going to speculate on the rankings. But I do think that Geno Smith is the 7th best quarterback. I know it's a little bit messed up. Dak Prescott at 8, Baker at 9, Anthony Richardson at 10, Kyler Murray at 11, and at 12 I have Will Levis. The numbers got fudged up, so if you're on the YouTube and you see it, the numbers got fudged up for a reason. I don't know what the case may be. I think it was the app I was using that it fudged the numbers up. But all in all, those are the top 10 quarterbacks that I have. And you could look at that list and you can go, okay. Obviously, Geno Smith. Maybe if I could perhaps redo it, I put Geno Smith ahead of Trevor Lawrence. That's where I would put it. Maybe Baker Mayfield ahead of Dak. But when you get to the sixth guy like Trevor Lawrence, you're really in a pickle. So let's get to the top 10 the top running backs on the schedule. At number 1, I got Christian McCaffrey. That's obvious. Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, Aaron Jones at number 4. 5 is Tony Pollard. 6 is Kenneth Walker. 7 is Travis Etienne because I think he's a threat out of the backfield with running and receiving. Joe Mixon I have at 8. James Conner I have at 9. James Cook I have at 10. I like James Cook a lot. I wanted to put him at 8, but it's a smaller sample size. I need to see him do it for the whole year before I kind of get a grip on what he's all about. Let's get to the top 10 wide receivers. At number 1, obviously, is Justin Jefferson. Number 2 is CeeDee Lamb. Number 3 is Cooper Kupp. Number 4 is DJ Moore. Number 5 is Deebo Samuel. 6 is DK Metcalf. Mike Evans at 7. Puka Nacua at 8. 9 is Keenan Allen and Jordan Addison at 10. When you look at this wide receiver list, what stands out to me here is you're going to be playing 4 of the top 10 wide receivers right to start out with. So you're going to see how good your secondary is right off top. Like, we're going to see how good the secondary is right off top. You're going to be going against some really good wide receivers like DK, like CD, Cooper Kupp, Nacua, Mike Evans, and then after the bye, you see CeeDee Lamb, and, then you're going to see Justin Jefferson, and you're going to see Jordan Addison, and then later in the year, you're going to see DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel. So it's good to get those guys out of the way because you really want to see what your team, your cornerback situation is. Did it really improve? Did it not improve? That'll be decided in the first 4 weeks because you're going to be playing some good wide receivers. I left the rookie Marvin Harrison off, but I think by the end of the year, he will be one of the top 10 wide receivers we face. So I left him off there, but that's just what it is. So let's go to the top 10 defenses. So I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to be the number one defense that we're going to face. Dallas is going to be the number 2 defense. 3 is Houston. I like their defense, but I can't put them above Dallas because I think Dallas has a cheat code in Micah Parsons. I think Mike Parsons is just an animal. 4 is Tampa Bay. I think they're going to have a good defense. 5 is Green Bay. 6 is Minnesota. 7 is Chicago. You look at that 5 through 7, man, those defenses are pretty damn good, and they're in your division, so you're going to be playing them twice. And you're going to drop – I have you dropping 2, 1 to the Minnesota Vikings, 1 to the Chicago Bears. I think you sweep the Green Bay Packers. At 8, this is where the defenses kind of fall off. Los Angeles Rams, they lose Aaron Donald. I can't put them ahead of Chicago. I know Kobe Turner is a good defensive tackle, and I like Jared Verse and I like Braden Fisk, but ultimately I can't put them ahead of those teams because I know what they have. At 9, you have the Buffalo Bills. They lost some players. Tre'Davious White. They lost Poyer. So they're a team that's in limbo. And 10 is Seattle. I put 10 in Seattle because I really don't like the other defenses. I think Arizona's trash. When you look at the defenses from last year, you look at the Seattle Seahawks defense. They were 25th in the NFL in points allowed. But I think they're going to have a rebound later in the season. I think they're going to be one of the top 10 defenses we will face. So, you look at some of the teams that we're going to be facing. I mean, Jacksonville was 17th in points allowed. Tennessee was 16th, but again, they lost a huge portion of their team with Danico Autry, and that's a big loss for them. And they also lost Terrell Williams. That's a big loss for their coaching staff. You look at the rest of the teams, like the Colts. They were 28th last year. Arizona was 31st last year. So I see Chicago getting better. I see the LA Rams being just where they were last year, which was 19th. And I think that this is going to be a good year for these teams. But all in all, this is a very talented schedule. You're going to be going against some really good players and good defenses. And right off the hop, man, you're going to be playing the 8th best defense. You're going to be playing the 2 top 10 wide receivers that you're going to play in the LA Rams. You're going to get 3 of the best tandems in the first 4 games that you're going to play with the Rams having Nacua and Cooper Kupp, with the Buccaneers having Godwin and Evans, and with Seattle having Najigba, Lockett, and DK Metcalf. So right off the hop, you're going to get to know what your cornerback situation is, how good your secondary was rebuilt, and how good Aaron Glenn has turned the defense around. I expect a big turnaround. I think DJ Reader is going to help out the pass rush. I think Josh Pascal is going to have a breakout year. I've said that for a while now. I think Terrell Williams is really going to put this in the overdrive. But this is a very talented schedule. Playing a lot of talented teams, a lot of talented players. You got the 11th hardest schedule in the NFL for a reason. You're playing talented teams. And I do think Detroit got better. How much better? We're going to see within the first 4 weeks. Literally. We will see in the first 4 weeks how good they are. So, on the next segment of the podcast, as we wrap up the podcast here on the Detroit Lions News Podcast, we are going to be talking about the Detroit Lions and what can be expected of the offense, of the defense, and what to think about the special teams because they could play a huge role in this season. That is next on the Detroit Lions News Podcast. All right, welcome back to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chap. Wrapping up the last segment of the podcast. It's 12:14 on a Thursday morning. We're wrapping up the podcast. Obviously, we went through the top 10 wide receiver, the top 10 positions at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and defense. We went through the whole schedule. Now let's get to why I think the Detroit Lions are going to be a damn good team. I love what the Brad Holmes did this offseason. I think it was very well orchestrated. First of all, totally revamped secondary. I love Terrion Arnold as a draft pick that they drafted. Ennis Rakestraw is a good corner. I think he's going to develop well in the second half of the year. I think he's going to do a lot better. But to start, you got Carlton Davis and Meek Robertson and Terrion Arnold, man. And that's a good start, man. And then you got Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph and Ifatu Melifonwu. That secondary is totally revamped. You look at the linebacker level, you know that Jack Campbell is going to get better. Like, you know that Jack Campbell is going to get better. How much better? That'll depend on a lot of things. But I think Jack Campbell is really going to turn the corner this year. You go to the defensive line. You look at the defense and you go, adding DJ Reader is going to be a huge portion of this defense. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, it's going to be good mentorship for Broderick Martin, because I think Broderick Martin's going to be having a breakout season. I think around the Minnesota game, that's where he's going to start to show his stuff. But Broderick Martin, he's got a good person to learn off of. DJ Reader, great defensive tackle. DJ Reader is going to eat up one side of the line, man. There's teams are going to have to double him, and they're going to have to double Lee McNeil, and they're going to have to double Hutch. It opens up the spot for, a guy like Josh Pascal or James Houston or Marcus Davenport or Matthew Betts, perhaps, or whatever the case may be. The defense has improved. You look at the offense. Jonah Jackson, as much as people want to talk about Jonah Jackson, he was an issue last year. 26% of the pressures that Jared Goff faced came from Jonah Jackson. Taylor Decker was playing with a bad foot, so obviously Taylor Decker gets a little mea culpa. Ragnow played hell of good. Glasgow played good. I know what to expect out of Sewell. Know what to expect out of Ragnow. And then you add a guy like Kevin Zeitler, a guy who is really good in the pass game. Now, run game, he was a little bit shaky, but when you're blocking for Lamar Jackson, the grades on Pro Football Focus sometimes get a little skewed. You look at Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to have a great second year. He's only going to get better. You saw how good he got in the later half of the year with the Detroit Lions, and you've seen how good he was, and you've seen how good Dave Montgomery was. Both were top 13 backs in every statistic. I mean, yards after contact, touchdowns, just everything that you can imagine in a running game, you got in a running game. Jared Goff gets a big extension. He's going to be playing with his ass on fire. But I look at that wide receiver group, and I think there's two guys that could really excel in this wide receiver group. One is Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is. I think he's going to really excel in the second year of this offense. I think him getting a training camp, him getting a connection with Jared Goff, that could potentially be your replacement for Josh Reynolds. And then you get the JMO. Jameson Williams last year was the first 3 weeks he came back off the injury, the suspension that he had, wasn't good. Week 10 through the NFC Championship game, no drops. He had absolutely no drops. He was a hell of a player in that last half of the season. So, Jameson Williams is, I've said it for 2 years now, and I'll say it again. Jameson Williams will unlock this offense to an outer world potential. It's game over. These teams are not going to know what hit them. They're not. I look at JMO. I look at this Detroit Lions team. And I think this could be a really good year for the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to challenge for home field in the division. Home field in the NFC. And look, no matter what people say from the Packer world, no matter what people say from the Bear world, re-signing Jared Goff was a good thing. Your wide receiver, St. Brown, got better with Jared Goff. J-Mo got better with Jared Goff. Sam Laporta got better with Jared Goff. That shows you how good of a quarterback Jared Goff is. You got the coaching. Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, I think, is a hell of a head coach. Your positional coaches, Calvin Shepard at the linebacker position. You got Terrell Williams at the defensive line position, Hank Fraley at the offensive line position, Antoine Randall at the wide receiver position. This is a talented coaching staff. They're going to have the players well prepared. They're going to have the players prepared to be the best that they can be. I know a lot's been said about Aaron Glenn, but let me tell you this right now. Aaron Glenn is a hell of a defensive coordinator. What he's had to work with the last 2 years isn't fair. And he shouldn't be judged on it, to be honest. No one liked Cam Sutton, yet they're blaming Aaron Glenn for Cam Sutton's faults. No one thought Emmanuel Mosley would fall apart. But here we are. And the Detroit Lions are going to be one of the best teams in the NFC. So as we move forward into the offseason, and obviously this is the last big hoorah with the schedule release and the ultimate schedule preview here on Detroit Lions News Podcast. When we go into the season, we're going to have a lot to talk about. How good this team is going to be. Because this team is a team that could challenge for a Super Bowl. Period. End of story. This is a talented team. This is one of the most talented teams in the NFL. Bar none. So as we sit here and we talk about this Detroit Lions team, just remember 2 things. This Lions team is going to be really good. So shift your expectations high. This is a good team. And that's the Detroit Lions News Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I appreciate it a hell of a lot. That you don't know how much I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next podcast episode of the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm going to get some sleep. I got to work tomorrow. And, this is going to be a good year for the Detroit Lions. So I will see you in the next episode of the Detroit Lions News Podcast. Thank you for joining me. And we will see you in the next episode.